It was a humid evening in Taipei, July 10th, 2016. The neon lights reflected off slick streets, cars splashing through shallow puddles. Two men walked calmly toward the entrance of a local bank. Their faces were hidden behind medical masks and wide-brimmed fisher hats. One lingered near the door, glancing down the street, alert and casual. At the same time, the other moved toward an ATM. He didn't insert a card. He didn't punch in a code. He just waited. Seconds passed. Then the impossible happened. The ATM began spitting out cash, bill after bill, like a machine programmed to obey an invisible hand. The man picked up the money as if it were scattered coins on the floor. Across the street, a stranger noticed the stack of banknotes. The two men froze, then disappeared into the shadows, leaving the cash behind. To the passerby, it looked like luck, but in reality, it was a meticulously planned heist, years in the making. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for more amazing stories like this. This night in Taipei was just one piece of a vast puzzle. Across the city, 20 others executed the same maneuver in different branches. Over 2 years, more than 100 banks in 30 countries would be infiltrated. The total stolen funds would amount to the roughly $1 billion. The perpetrators were a network known only in the dark corners of cyberspace as the Carbon Act Group, led by a single, shadowy mastermind whose identity remained a mystery. On this night, however, a tiny mistake would begin to unravel their carefully hidden operations. It all began quietly. In a cluttered office in Kiev, a young bank employee named Maxim sipped coffee at his desk. He had a crush on the receptionist and was distracted by the day's trivial concerns. A single email appeared in his inbox. Subject: Compliance with Federal Law 115. Dated 7/2014. The attached Word document looked important. He clicked. He read. He closed it. Unseen by him, a backdoor was installed on his computer. This one click gave the hackers remote access, silently watching his keystrokes, his passwords, and his network movements. For months, they observed without interference. They studied patterns of money transfers, employee behavior, and the bank's auditing cycles. Every small oversight was logged, every predictable human mistake cataloged. The Carbon Act Group had perfected 3 primary methods for stealing money. The first was subtle and technical. They infiltrated transaction management accounts, moving money into accounts they controlled. To avoid detection, they manipulated balances so audits would see nothing unusual. The second method involved ATMs, programmed remotely to dispense cash at precise moments. Money mules, recruited through underground networks, would collect the notes and transfer them to the masterminds. The third method was audacious. They created multiple accounts for their mules. With minimal initial funds, then updated the bank's databases to make the accounts hold millions. Withdrawals were made with legitimate debit cards. Occasionally, ordinary customers discovered unusual balances, an accidental signature of the operation. By 2015, the scope was extraordinary. Over 100 banks in nearly 30 countries had been compromised. Billions of dollars moved invisibly through digital channels. Most victims were in Russia and Ukraine, but the United States, China, Taiwan, and Europe were all affected. Employees noticed minor discrepancies. Management blamed human error. Customers remained unaware. Systems appeared secure, but they were broken. Law enforcement struggled. In one instance, a Russian bank's account manager called Kaspersky Labs at 3 a.m. panicked. Their domain controller, the core of their server network, had been breached. Control over it meant control over every system, every ATM, every transfer. Specialists arrived quickly, scanning servers, searching for malware. Hours passed. Then, a cursor moved on a screen. Letters appeared. "You will not catch us." The Kaspersky technician typed back, "We will catch you." The reply came instantly, "No, you will not." It was a standoff not of guns, but of code. A battle of patience, intellect, and anticipation. Even after arrests in Taipei, server seizures in Europe, and partial recovery of stolen funds, the operation continued. Carbon AC, the malware, was adaptive. It mirrored itself across servers, created hidden backups, and rerouted whenever investigators attempted to shut it down. Every obstacle only refined its intelligence. Patience, observation, and understanding human behavior had become a weapon. In Taipei, authorities caught a few operatives, money mules who had collected cash from ATMs. They were sentenced to prison, small cogs in a much larger machine. Yet the mastermind, Dennis, lived freely in Alicante, Spain. He converted much of the stolen funds into Bitcoin. By 2018, he owned 15,000 Bitcoins, worth $162 million at the time. Today, that would exceed $1 billion. Dennis maintained a low profile, rarely leaving his house. His daily life was quiet coding, testing malware, refining exploits. Spending was careful, mostly through cryptocurrency. But some purchases, like cars and property, required real currency, leaving traces that eventually tipped off authorities. His luxury life remained largely intact, while investigators scrambled across continents, trying to piece together the operation. Meanwhile, employees like Maxim grappled with confusion and guilt. Their routine mistakes, delayed software updates, overlooked alerts, had enabled a global heist. Human error had become the Achilles heel of the banking system. One missed Windows update, one careless click, had unlocked $1 billion. The Carbon Act group had no mercy for inefficiency. They monitored, calculated, and adapted. Even as authorities took down some servers, new systems arose. The malware was resilient, intelligent, and persistent. Each time a countermeasure was deployed, the group evolved, leaving investigators perpetually one step behind. By 2016, Europol, the FBI, and private cybersecurity firms coordinated globally. Servers were seized, arrests made, and portions of stolen funds recovered. Yet the majority remained untraceable. The stolen billion, for all practical purposes, had vanished into the digital ether. The human stories were scattered across continents. A mother in Taiwan waited for a son who had been arrested as a money mule. An employee in Kiev replayed every action of his workday, wondering how one careless click had compromised millions. Investigators worked late nights, tracing code through networks that spanned continents, speaking with intermediaries, piecing together digital breadcrumbs that never told the whole story. At the same time, Dennis continued undisturbed, refining his methods, quietly living a life that most would envy. Bitcoin allowed him to hide the majority of his wealth, while global authorities could seize only a fraction: luxury cars, a handful of jewelry, and wallets accessible through minor traces in real world purchases. The billion-dollar majority remained hidden, a testament to his brilliance and patience. The legacy of Carbon Act is not only the stolen funds, but the lessons left behind. Banks began to update security protocols. Employees became aware of the danger of neglected updates, and cybersecurity firms studied the malware extensively. The heist exposed the fragility of systems designed and maintained by humans. Observing behavior, exploiting routine, and patiently waiting created more impact than any brute force attack could. By the end, investigators understood one undeniable truth: the internet, the financial systems, and the human operators themselves were vulnerable. One overlooked update, one distracted worker, one gap in protocol could become the key to billions of dollars. Arrests, server seizures, and partial recoveries slowed the operation, but did not fully stop it. This story does not end with grand justice or the capture of the mastermind. Most of the $1 billion remain unaccounted for. Some of the perpetrators remain free, others arrested. Systems were hardened, but the digital architecture remains vulnerable to who understand both technology and human behavior. And so, we are left with a question that lingers long after the story ends. When billions can be moved silently, invisibly, across continents by a single individual, can any bank, any government, or any authority truly control the flow of the digital world?